We've always just accepted that getting old is a fact of life. It's inevitable, right? But what if it's not? What if science could actually hit the rewind button on aging, right down to our very cells? That's the wild, revolutionary idea we're going to unpack today. I mean, Peter Pan, forever young, sounds like something straight out of a storybook, right? But this isn't just a fantasy anymore. It's the real deal motivation behind a whole new field of science. And some of the smartest people on the planet, they're convinced this is happening, that forever young is actually moving out of science fiction and into the realm of scientific fact.
And look, this is not some fringe idea cooked up in a basement. We are talking about a massive multi-billion-dollar race. I mean, tech billionaires, VCs, they're throwing huge amounts of cash at this research. They're all betting on the same thing, that cracking the code of aging will be the single biggest, most valuable breakthrough in all of human history. So let's get real. What's the deal here? Is this all just a bunch of hype, or are we really on the brink of conquering aging? To figure that out, we've got to go back to basics. We need to understand, why do we even age at all? Okay, so let's start decoding this whole aging process. If we want to hack it, we first have to know what we're up against. And it turns out, our bodies, well, they weren't really built to last forever. It all comes down to a kind of evolutionary trade-off. It's this idea called the disposable Soma theory. Think of it like this. Evolution is like a car manufacturer. Its main goal isn't to build a car that lasts forever, it's to build a car that lasts long enough to get the new models, the next generation, off the assembly line. So it puts just enough energy into maintaining our bodies, our Soma, to get us through our reproductive years. After that, the warranty's up, the repair systems start to wind down. We kind of become disposable. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, this whole decline thing, it's not a universal law of nature. Not at all. Look at us. For humans, our risk of dying literally doubles every 8 years. But then you look at something like an Aldabra giant tortoise, and its risk just stays flat. It basically doesn't age in the same way we do. And that right there is the key. That's the proof. Aging isn't set in stone. It's malleable. It's something we can actually change. All right, so if aging is changeable, the next big question is, how do we actually do it? Well, over the last 100 years or so, a series of amazing breakthroughs has given us the first real tools to start hacking our own biological blueprint. We're moving from a wouldn't it be nice dream to something you can actually work on in a lab. This whole journey really kicked off back in the 1930s. Scientists found that if you put rats on a super strict diet, they lived a third longer. A huge moment. Then, fast forward to the 90s, and a researcher named Cynthia Kenyon doubles the lifespan of a tiny worm just by tweaking a single gene. A single gene. And today, we're on the cusp of the next frontier, literally reprogramming the software that tells our cells what to do. What Kenyon did was absolutely groundbreaking. Because changing that one gene didn't just make the worms live longer, it kept them younger for longer by beefing up their own internal repair kits, things like DNA repair. And here's the kicker, the part that should give you chills. We humans have those exact same genes. And that brings us to this incredible thing called the epigenome. So if you think of your DNA as the computer hardware, it's fixed, it's what you're born with. The epigenome is the software running on top of it. It's the layer of instructions telling your genes when to switch on and when to switch off. And here's the crucial part. Unlike the hardware, the software, well, that can be rewritten. It's a target we can actually hit. So how do you rewrite it? Well, scientists found a kind of recipe, a cocktail of 4 specific proteins. They're called Yamanaka factors. And by using them, they can basically hit the factory reset button on a cell's epigenome. I'm talking about taking an old, tired cell and making it act young again. And just to be clear, this is not a what-if scenario. This is happening in labs today. Okay, so that epigenetic reprogramming stuff, that is the future, for sure. But what about right now? What can we do today? Well, there are already a bunch of therapies in clinical trials that are showing some incredible promise. Let's look at the toolkit. First up on the list, getting rid of zombie cells. Yeah, you heard that right. These are old cells that should have died, but they just don't. They hang around like grumpy ghosts, causing all sorts of inflammation and trouble. But now there's a new class of drugs called senolytics that can specifically hunt down and clear out these zombie cells. And in animals, the health improvements are dramatic. It's like a deep clean for the whole body. Hey, remember those rats from the 1930s that lived longer on a restricted diet? Well, we're now getting drugs that can basically trick your body into thinking it's starving without you having to actually, starve. A common diabetes drug, Metformin, seems to do just that. It flips on all these powerful survival and repair pathways, and studies suggest it might help protect us from a whole list of age-related diseases, everything from cancer to dementia.
Another big strategy is basically cellular housekeeping. You know how junk can pile up in your house? The same thing happens inside our cells. A drug called rapamycin helps boost our cells' natural garbage disposal system, cleaning out all the accumulated junk. And when cells are cleaner, they just work better. They function more like they did when they were young.
And if you think that's wild, the research gets even more out there. I mean, we're talking about stuff like parabiosis, where they literally link the circulatory systems of a young animal and an old animal, and the old one gets younger. Or even fecal transplants, where transferring gut bacteria from young to old animals can have rejuvenating effects. It sounds crazy, but these kinds of unconventional ideas show you just how seriously scientists are attacking this problem from every single angle.
So you can see the science is moving at an absolutely incredible speed. But let's take a step back. Beyond just the cool factor, the dream of living longer, why does this really matter? Why should you and I care? Well, the impact this could have on our world, on our economy, and just on our quality of life, it's staggering. And when I say staggering, I mean it. Forget billions. This is a multi-trillion-dollar question. Just think about the sheer cost of age-related diseases. We're talking cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's. The economic burden is just crushing. But if we can tackle aging itself, the root cause of all these things, we could completely rewrite the economic future of our society. And the data on this is really telling. If you look at the medical costs in the last few years of life, for someone who lives to be 100, those costs are only about a third of what they are for someone who passes away at 70. And the reason is simple, really. They're not just living longer, they're staying healthier for longer. They have a much shorter period of being sick at the very end.
And that brings us to the real goal here. This isn't just about adding more years to your life. It's about adding more life to your years. The key term you'll hear is health span, not just lifespan. It's about having more time being vibrant, being productive, being independent. It's about making sure our later years are just as full as our early ones.
Because in the end, that's what this is all about. It's not about abstract science or trillions of dollars. It's about people. It's about the very human desire for more time, more good years. It's about people like Giddy here, who at 98 years old is still thinking about the future, still has goals, still wants to compete with her sister. She wants more. And that really leaves us with the ultimate question. If you knew you could stay healthy and vibrant, how long would you want to live?